Deputation on committee reports. All right. The bar is pretty high, and you know what? Just because of that, our MP is here tonight, members of City Council, and because the deputations relate to items that are on the committee reports, and our MP does have a limited time tonight, I'd like to ask your permission to allow MP Brown to make his presentation. He's here for his annual update, and then we will proceed with the deputations. So seeing no objections, MP Brown, welcome to Council. Come on down to the podium.
Well, thank you, Mayor Lehman and Council. It is great to be back at Barrie City Hall. I'll be handing out an update on my local priorities that I'm working on right now for Barrie, and I think they'll be up on the screen for those watching at home. It's always great to be back here at City Hall. It was 13 years ago this fall that I was first elected to City Council, and absolutely loved the experience on City Council. It really is at the doorstep of public service. You hear it the very next day. If there's a snowstorm, if someone needs a stop sign, you'll get 11 calls immediately about it, and it's one of the most wonderful things about politics because it's at the very grassroots. Just thinking, I was sitting here, what has changed in 13 years, and I see that Councillor Ward and Councillor Ainsworth are still here. Dawn still looks like the busiest person in the room. And Bob Bruden's still here. So other than that, it looks a little bit different. But wanted to talk in no specific order about some of the projects that I'm working on. And I have to say, I think one of the recipes for our success in serving Barrie is the fact that we work so well together. I look at other cities and I hear complaints where the MPPs, the MPs, and the city councils don't exactly get along. And I think one of the wonderful things about Barrie is that we do work very closely together. And I look at sort of the projects on the go right now, and almost every single one, they're team efforts. I remember speaking to council in 2006, and I gave the analogy, it's like a canoe. You sort of need all paddles going at once if we're going to make a difference for Barrie, and I think we're certainly continuing to do that. One example is Lake Simcoe. Lake Simcoe, we announced, as you recall, $30 million in 2008 to clean up Lake Simcoe. We had phosphorus levels of 100 tons a year in the 1990s, and obviously that was affecting marine habitat. We had excessive weed growth, and something had to be done. And the 5-year fund was working. We actually saw levels drop to 70 tons a year of phosphorus, and we haven't got the latest update, and we think it'll have gone even further down in the last 3 years. So because of our confidence in this fund that it's working and really making a difference for Lake Simcoe, this year we announced an additional $29 million to extend the fund for another 5 years. And one of the incredible things about that fund is it was a partnership. It was municipal dollars working with federal dollars to make sure that we curbed phosphorus inputs into Kempenfelt Bay. And I know how much our city appreciates Kempenfelt Bay. I think of a conversation I had with Councillor Shipley on the weekend where he said, given his new svelte figure, that he started paddleboarding. And I think that's indicative of how everyone in Barrie uses our lake. And it really is incredible. You go to any beach in the city in the summer, it is buzzing with activity. In the winter, people are ice fishing. I think it's one of our jewels as a community, and we need to continue to protect it. And we have federal dollars for the next 5 years to ensure that is done. And I would, on that note, encourage you to continue to put applications in for the intakes. We normally have 1 to 2 intakes a year for the Lake Simcoe Cleanup Fund, and it's important that we have as many projects from Barrie being seen, because there'll be projects from Innisfil and North Simcoe area as well. Expanding recreation was the second item I mentioned. We've actually done a lot of good work together on that, initially with the Eastview arena upgrades. I know many of us were there. I think almost everyone at council was there on Saturday night for Oktoberfest, and it's a beautiful new facility, and that's an example of municipal and federal dollars working together to enhance an arena that at one point was too small to even fit a kids team in the dressing rooms, and now it looks incredible. This year we announced funding for Lampman Lane. I'm sure Councillor Silvera appreciates that in the heart of Ward 5. And more recently we've announced some program funding for things like curling. If anyone wants to take up senior curling, we now are working with the Barrie Curling Club to encourage that. Councillor Broussard might be interested. Promoting job creation is another one of our top priorities, and we've been working with the Federal Economic Development Department to support job growth in Barrie through repayable loans or grants if it's working with a university or not-for-profit. And I believe we're having a lot of success with that. I know with the Economic Development Department, we've worked with Councillor Broussard and Mayor Lehman on the getting IBM to Barrie, but there's been numerous examples where we've seen federal loans create immediate jobs in Barrie, whether it was bringing the plant from China back for South Medic to create the medical mask, whether it was T&R doors, whether it was Wolf Steel, where they're doing high-efficiency furnaces. These repayable loans are helping enhance Barrie's competitiveness. And I know at the height of the recession, we had unemployment in Barrie at 11.9%. I understand now we're hovering in the high 7s to the low 8s, and it's a sign that we're making slow and steady progress, but real progress. And it's encouraging to see. More recently, just this month, working with Councillor Strong, we announced funding for youth employment. We're working with YMCA to get youth into internships that will lead to employment. And we tried this a year ago, and I think it was about 80% of the youth who we got into internships managed to get full-time employment at those same organizations afterwards. And so we're optimistic that this will be the case with the internships we just announced funding for this month, and appreciate Councillor Strong's partnership on that, working with YMCA. Working with seniors in Barrie, we have done a number of projects across the city to enhance our seniors facilities. We have a program, a federal program called the New Horizons program, and that provides grants of up to $25,000 every year to facilities that enhance programming for Canadian seniors. And so if you recognize any facilities in your wards that you think would benefit from such a project, please let us know, and we'd certainly advocate that application. A few examples include computer terminals in seniors' residences, art programs, and things that stimulate the day-to-day activities in a senior's residence. Investing in infrastructure, I know, is obviously one of the most important aspects of your job municipally, because there's such a huge infrastructure deficit across the country. And I can tell you that I think we've done exceptionally well in Barrie in being the first to the gate when it comes to asking for federal dollars. We saw that with the wellness building, the Saddleman facility, as it's now called, at Georgian College. I think we had the first application in the country in when they announced the KIP funding. I know, even though we haven't announced the parameters of the new $53 billion federal infrastructure fund, we've already approached, I think, 6 ministers who might be involved on the new police headquarters that we want federal dollars for. So people are almost joking in Ottawa that we have had more requests from Barrie about a police headquarters, even though we haven't even announced or even released the application form yet for that funding. So it goes to show we're certainly eager in this community, but I think eagerness produces results, and certainly when that process opens up in the next few months, I imagine we'll be successful in advocating the infrastructure needs that exist here in Barrie for the new police headquarters, and I see Councillor Ainsworth nodding. I know she's been part of that advocacy as well. Rebuilding Base Borden. In 2010, we announced $210 million, which is probably the largest infrastructure investment in a Canadian base across the country. It's a 5-year project, and the real meat of the project is just getting underway now, and it finishes in 2015. But it's really exciting, and there's going to be significant economic benefits for the city of Barrie when you have that type of construction work being done just outside our city. And on a Base Borden note, I have to say how encouraging it is that this council has been so supportive of the linkages we have with the Canadian Forces at Base Borden, extending the bus service to Base Borden. Mayor Lehman, I thought, was a wonderful initiative and highlights the historical partnership that we have at Base Borden. My 7th item, and like I said, in no particular order, is supporting our charities. And I think one of the things we can do in public service is use some of our spare time to support the causes we believe in our community. And I know your council's help on doing that has been incredibly helpful. And I'll give you a few examples. We passed the $1 million mark this year with Hockey Night in Barrie. We're approaching, I think, $1.1 million now for the Cancer Center. And I know, look around this table, I think almost everyone was helpful in putting that event on. I think RF was stuffing flyers in the program for about 10 hours the day of. Councillor Brassard has helped us recruit hockey players for that game. And Councillor Prowse didn't ask for any recognition on this, but I'll do it anyways. For the last several years, all the promotional material, or the shirts, the hats, and the stuff we used, he donated personally, because he said he was happy to support an event like that. And I have to say that I feel incredibly fortunate that we have such strong and active city councillors in Barrie, and I feel that other cities and other MPs should be envious in terms of what we have in this city, whether it's Councillor Nuttall, who suited up, or attempted to suit up for the last period in the game. He was actually supposed to play half the game, but forgot and came down in the third period. But raised a heck of an amount of money as one of the community players, so we appreciate that. And the marathon, believe it or not, that marathon, which we were able to have in Barrie because of the goodwill of City Council and actually letting us close roads, has now raised over $100,000 for charities. We had, for year one of the marathon, we had 500 runners, year two, 900, and this year we had 1,500 paid runners. And we expanded it to 4 charities: Talk is Free Theatre, Autism, Juvenile Diabetes, and the Cardiac Unit at RVH. I know Councillor Strong ran it. Councillor Nuttall signed up for it but slept in. He said it's the same thing as running it. He did run it one year, topless, so I think I actually prefer him sleeping in for the sake of other runners. But this is a growing race. We're going to do it again this June, and I think based on the growth we've seen in interest, people are starting to put this on their calendar, and I wouldn't be surprised if we can see 2,500 runners and even double the intake we're going to have for charities.
Point of personal privilege, I'd just like to say that...
Granted.
Yeah, thank you. I just try to get any competitive edge I can, so if taking off my shirt gives me that extra edge, I'm going to do it, okay?
I want to congratulate Councillor Nuttall on completing a half marathon and more recently for becoming a father. But he may have less time and less sleep available now to train for a half marathon, so I'll have to give you an excuse this year. Standing up for victims of crime, I want to thank Mayor Lehman and Councillor Ainsworth for allowing us to host a round table at police headquarters with Chief Greenwood. We had the Justice Minister in town, and right now we're doing some important work on cyberbullying and building a victim's Bill of Rights. And it was great to have Barrie's direct input on those matters. And it didn't hurt to mention to the Justice Minister that we needed a new police headquarters either. It was good timing on that front. But actually, we've had a number of Barrie residents play an active role on some of this policy. You look at Mackenzie Oliver, who on cyberbullying has been a youth leader in Barrie, and we've used some of her material in the House of Commons in Ottawa. Actually, Alex Nuttall's mother, Judy Nuttall, testified before the Standing Committee on Victims' Rights and the Protection of Children, and Cheryl Bullock, a local resident, has done that and spoken out as well. So certainly Barrie's playing a lead role in standing up for victims of crime. Two other local priorities I wanted to reference: improving local health care. Obviously, that's a passion of mine. Whenever I think of health care, I think of my grandmother, my late grandmother, who was a blue coat at RVH for 50 years. And we had the RVH Society dinner last week, and they were honoring the blue coats. And it really is incredible how much the community has put in to this hospital, whether it's the $52 million that the city of Barrie put in, which is an incredible contribution. But this hospital is really being built more so than most hospitals by the will and generosity of the community. Right now we've got 2 campaigns that I'm eagerly supporting: the Healthy Minds and Healthy Hearts campaign to have cardiac care closer to home, so you don't have to be sent down to Newmarket if there's a serious heart attack. And additionally, we're trying to have a fundraising campaign to have youth mental health services available at RVH. Right now it's not available, and so those are 2 fundraising campaigns I'm assisting the hospital with. I know the city, the mayor and council are playing a big role in those campaigns as well. And the last item is public safety. Public safety is another example of how we're working together in creative ways for the betterment of our residents. And an example with firefighters is that base Borden was used for training. And I can tell you that when it comes to public safety, Barrie is certainly recognized in Ottawa. It's well known that our firefighters, and it's timely they were here today, raised the most in the country for MD, but actually when we passed a bill in the House of Commons on line of death benefit for firefighters, we talked about Bill Wilkins, who was the firefighter that sadly passed away in the line of duty. And that actually passed with cross-party support in the House of Commons, and it's because of the sacrifices and the heroism of individuals like that that we actually saw legislation actually go through and a bill actually pass. I know Councillor Broussard was helpful in that advocacy as well. For those that don't know, Councillor Broussard was in the 1957 firefighters calendar and has not forgotten his roots and continues to be a big advocate for the firefighters. The final note that I wanted to bring up today before I answer any questions you may have is Barrie was recipient of a prestigious award at the FCM this year and was recognized amongst all the communities in Canada. And kudos to Mayor Lima and Council, Carla and your team for being recognized for the most efficient use of gas tax dollars. And we're proud that Barrie continues to receive close to $8 million a year in gas tax funds from the federal government. But to be recognized amongst the thousands of communities in Canada for efficiency and capacity building, I think, is just incredible. And the minister that monitors and administers this fund with FCM is Jim Flaherty. And I have a personal note from Jim Flaherty directed to Mayor Lehman and Council to congratulate you on this that I will pass on to Mayor Lehman, because it is a commendable accomplishment. And I'll certainly I'll leave this letter from Jim for the mayor. But on that note, I just wanted to say, if you have any ideas of how we can continue to work in a cohesive fashion for the betterment of Barrie, I have lots of energy and all the time in the day to work with you on that, and I'd be pleased to answer any questions you may have if time allows.
Thank you very much, MP Brown. Questions? Councillor Nuttall.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll be kinder to our MP than he was to me. Yeah, it wouldn't be hard. Exactly. I'm a very gracious soul. Just two questions on the Protecting Lake Simcoe. When it first started, there were certain types of projects that they were looking for, Kitts Creek and other projects that basically were looking at the phosphorus levels feeding into the lake and trying to prevent those from making it downstream. And also in terms of protecting the buffers around those creek beds. Is there certain types of projects that the Ministry of the Environment is looking for this year, or is it really just anything that we can do to?
It's really about reducing phosphorus levels. So education campaign would be less relevant than an infrastructure project that would actually reduce the input. So something that is less action-oriented would be a project that would not be as looked upon as positively. There were some consultants that offered to do consultant reports on Lake Simcoe, and we thought we don't need more reports telling us that we need to reduce the phosphorus levels of Lake Simcoe. What we want to see is actionable projects. Those are examples of applications that got turned down if they didn't actually have a specific area on the lake that they were going to reduce phosphorus levels on.
And if there's community organizations that are doing work on certain creek beds, can they make a request for funds, or is it just for municipal government?
No, Ladies of the Lake received a fund, a grant, so it's not limited to municipal bodies, but I would say that the vast majority of projects are done with municipal stakeholders or the Lake Simcoe Conservation Authority. Okay,
and my last question is regarding the investing in infrastructure. You've been amazing in the past at both going and pushing Barrie's interests, as well as having us to Ottawa to show us around so we can push our interests as well, perhaps put a tertiary voice in behind yours. While the funding parameters are not out yet, I understand the funding really begins to ramp up in 2015 and 16 for infrastructure spending. Is that still on track for that, or is
Yeah,
it?
or before that. Certainly we'd like to see those projects out the door sooner than later. There is certainly an overall 7-year plan, but that doesn't mean that we're waiting for years 4, 5, and 6. If you look at the last infrastructure plan, funds became available pretty quickly. And this fund, to give you scope, is larger than the last one. And look how well we did at the last one with the fire station and Georgian College and the Lake Simcoe Airport. Anywhere in the city, practically, we saw examples of where that stimulus program became helpful. Go Train.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, certainly, thank you for your presentation. And on a municipal level, I think we're extremely thankful that basically it's infrastructure funding has become a crutch to municipalities from the federal government. Appreciate it.
Councillor Silvera.
Thank you, Mayor Lehman. Thank you, MP Brown, for coming tonight, and great to see you here again. And also your work for Barrie. I really want to thank you because I've been in Barrie for almost 15 years, and independent of PC or NDP or Liberal Party, so far you're doing great work for Barrie, for our community here and in Ottawa. Saying that, MP Brown, as you see, the world has changed a lot since the last time you came to Barrie. And I don't see that we can separate what happened locally, what happened internationally also. And in Barrie, we have a very, as you probably know, that we have a small but very strong Syria community in Barrie. And I want to just say that since the last time you came here, the problems in Syria is so much greater than before. The humanity catastrophe there, and also the refugee problem. Can you let us know here what the federal government is doing in relation to Syria?
Well, two things. One, we offered funds for the resettlement of refugees in the neighboring countries. So we offered help with refugees in Syria. Obviously, Canada has been a historical partner with the United Nations on the protection of refugees. In terms of the contemplated military action that was advocated by the U.S., Britain, and France, we said no to that. We are hesitant to have military engagement. Obviously, if there's not an end goal or an end plan, it is very dangerous. And just like Canada did not participate in Iraq, we felt that it was appropriate to set out to our allies very early on that was something we were not interested in. It was not somewhere we wanted to send the Canadian forces, who are already overstretched. My personal concern in a situation where Syria is, there are significant concerns with the rebels and the current dictatorship. So I think when there is concerns on both sides and there's no plan for who takes over next and how that's governed, it's certainly not a mess that we want to put the Canadian forces in.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to bring you a little bit closer to home now in job creation. As you mentioned, Barrie is under 7.5 or under 8% of unemployment. And one of the problems that I have, and I spoke to you earlier before, was about the temporary foreign workers coming to Canada. It's true that the government created over 800,000 jobs for the last, I would say, 6 years. But it's also true that we brought about 400,000 foreign workers to Canada. And the level of unemployment is still the same, in between 7.5 to 7.2. And this over 400,000 workers which came to Canada, okay, that some of them was put in places that we need. But I think that the companies took advantage of it, and some of those workers now, they are pouring coffee in Tim Hortons, working for McDonald's, work for pizza place. So how this can help our economy, even here in Barrie, if we create 800,000 jobs across Canada, but we give 400,000 jobs for people which is not even immigrant. And MP Brown, the problem that I have is because if we need immigrants, and probably we do need immigrants in Canada, okay? We bring about 250,000 immigrants to Canada. And if we need immigrants, why not instead to bring this temporary foreign workers? And we do have in Barrie now, these people working here. And those workers, they now invest in our community. They now buy homes. They now open business. Instead of them, why not bring immigrants for our marketplace? So, like I said before, in Barrie we have those kind of workers also. So what we can do to least, to wait a little bit before we bring more foreign workers to Canada.
A few things to respond to your concern, Councilor Severa. It's actually over 1 million jobs created since 2008, and there's 300,000 foreign workers in some areas of the country, like Alberta and Saskatchewan, where there's severe labor shortages. Businesses have used that as a vehicle to keep the business running. But we certainly saw this spring with the RBC example that there was businesses that were abusing the program and simply using it as a means to have cheaper labor. And so in the spring, the Prime Minister announced that that program would be fundamentally changed. And the new barometer is, to make it very clear, is there an available Canadian that can fill that job? And businesses have to prove that they have put out an ad and no one has filled that ad. And it has to be a competitive wage, to the point that one of the number one concerns we had a round table last Monday with Tony Clement at the Chamber of Commerce. We had businesses complaining that it's now too difficult to bring anyone in. We had 2 Barrie businesses that had a specific skill-based job that they wanted to have filled, and that was a concern raised to us by the Chamber of Commerce here in Barrie. I'm glad we've made the criteria a lot stricter now, because you're right. There was a concern that people were abusing the program simply to maybe pay $13 an hour instead of $15 if they wanted to have more competitive wages. So we're hoping that the message has been sent to industry and to business that we want every effort exhausted to find an employable Canadian. And so I can tell you the program as it was for the last decade is dramatically different today.
One problem that we have in Barrie is find good people with knowledge in trade. And Mayor Lehman and MPP Jackson's already doing a good job in let the people know that we're short on the labor force. And why not the federal government send the eye on Europe again? Because we have people in Portugal, Spain, Italy, France that have the trade skills, and we should bring those people to Canada. I think it's something that we're going to even help our city in Barrie, because we have short of trade people. And I think if we changed our direction now from the Middle East or South Asian to back to Europe and bring the immigrants that we need for our workforce, I think we'll save money, our tax dollar money in the long run.
Well, as you said, Canada is a recipient of over 250,000 new Canadians a year. I know we've had many citizenship ceremonies here at Barrie City Hall to welcome new Canadians to our community. And one of the criteria that we have put in place for immigration is skill-based immigration. So we're actually actively looking for, and that's one of the criteria is if you apply, if you're coming in with a skill that it can fill a shortage in Canada, that enhances your chances of becoming a Canadian citizen. So the 250,000 Canadians, new Canadians a year, unequivocally, that's something we're looking at very closely, and it's one of the criterias to have that skills shortage cured in Canada, and it is certainly, it is a big issue. I hear again and again from businesses that there's skill shortages. I'm very glad that you guys have taken that on, Mayor Lehman, because it's something that we've heard again and again.
Okay. Thank you again. Thank you very much for coming tonight, and well, it's great to meet you again. Thank you, Mayor Lehman.
Councillor Khan.
Thanks, Mary Lehman. Thanks for your presentation, MP Brown. Appreciate it. Obviously, I think most of Barrie knows that you're one of the, if not the most energetic individual out there, so appreciate your enthusiasm. You have a couple of items on your top 10 priorities, and I think my question to you sort of works with a few of them coming together. One, obviously, your work with seniors, and we have a meeting tomorrow I'm looking forward to meet with some of them. As well as really the benefits of aging in place, that we know that the reduction of the burden on our system, that working with not only with the facilities that we have, but strategies to have keep our residents at home longer with services to their home. But the other one is also the healthy mind that you talked about, or mental health. One of the things that I have, we were at AMO recently, as you know, and we obviously have an issue here in the county as well as the city with affordable housing, and we have a huge deficit there. One of the things that we did learn at AMO is that it's far better, and I think we all know that, it's far better to invest in an opportunity to keep people in their homes, whether there's an incentive program that the province or any level of government can offer to create affordable housing so that families can remain focused on skills building, on employment, on entrepreneurial spirits, on their families, etc., as opposed to the challenges that we face when our systems are impacted at varying services in our community with regards to whether it's truancy or other impacts that it may have with poverty and homelessness. We have a great MPP. We have somebody who's rallying there. We obviously have a presentation later on this evening from the county with regard to their 10-year plan. I'm wondering if there's an opportunity for your level of government to partner, collaborate, put pressure where appropriate to get funding to where it should be to encourage building and affordable housing strategies.
Yeah. And absolutely, the federal government is very actively in the business of affordable housing. We do that through two different organizations. One, the Canadian Housing and Mortgage Corporation, which provides funding for affordable housing, and that is backed up by your federal tax dollars. Additionally, Human Resources Canada funds projects for transitional housing, for affordable housing, and there have been applications successful in Barrie for that. I know we had one on Sunnydale Road, if I recall, and I know Dino Melchor, a local business owner, actually was successful in an application as well. But we're always eager to find new applications for affordable housing, and if you can identify some of them, I can certainly suggest and set up a meeting. Actually, the minister responsible for Human Resources Canada is a neighboring riding, Kelly Leach, so I'm sure she'd be keen to work with the county on helping alleviate some of that need.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Councillor Ainsworth.
Thank you, Your Worship. MP Brown, regardless of the color of the Kool-Aid that people drink, I think everyone appreciates all the hard work and the contributions that you've made to our community. You seem to be able to champion bringing funding home for projects, and I just wanted to ask you tonight about your number one objective here, and it's protecting Lake Simcoe. I have a huge concern. At one time I heard the community had to raise $100 million for phosphorus removal or control, and I believe that it's now down to $60 million. Mr. Thompson could maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but as a member of the community and as a city councillor, I have grave concern where we're expected to find that money from. And I wonder if sometime in the future you could give us some suggestions. We need far more than your whole program is offering tonight. So maybe you could speak with the mayor or someone else in the city, or I'm sure they probably have contacted you already, but I just wanted to mention my concern. And it's not one that I have on my own. It's just one that I happen to bring up tonight, and I'm sure every other councillor at the table is also scratching their head and wondering where we're going to get this money. Okay. So thank you very much. If you could give it some consideration and thought, and maybe get back, as I said, to the mayor or someone else in the city.
Thank you for the kind words, Councillor Ainsworth. And I would say this, an infrastructure project like the water treatment center, I've talked to Councillor Prowse about this, that obviously is a huge, huge project. And I think the better funding mechanism for that would be the new Building Canada Fund, the $53 billion fund over 7 years. And that would be an appropriate. Now, obviously, City Council is going to have to come up with priorities, what your number one priority is. Last time we had an infrastructure program, we set out 5 priorities, and we were lucky enough to get them all funded. But none of them were in the size and scope of the 2 that we're asking right now with the water treatment center and the police. If you look at most of the projects we funded last time, the 5 of them, they tended to be the $3 to $7 million range. If we came in with 2 hard asks instead of 5, maybe we'd have a chance to be able to contribute to both of them. And I do think both those projects would be very worthy projects. Obviously, the phosphorus reduction strategy with the Lake Simcoe Fund would be something that's more meant for smaller projects along the lake in terms of stuff like the Kids Creek upgrades that the city did. In terms of my number one priority, I didn't put these in any order. I didn't mean to suggest that's the number one. Obviously, there's a lot of priorities, but Lake Simcoe is certainly very, very important.
Any other questions for the MP? Councillor Jackson?
Thank you, Mayor Lehman. I'd just like to encourage our MP to continue the Lake Simcoe Protection Plan and funding for that, because if I recall correctly, a number of years ago, the Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority had said that the Lake Simcoe had an impact on local economy somewhere around $200 million annually. So it's important from a business point of view, but also from an environmental point of view. So continue working away at that program. It's a very worthwhile project.
Yeah, thank you, and absolutely agree.
MP Brown, thank you very much for being here tonight and for helping us be early in our asks for the First Responders Campus. I've been working with Warden Patterson from the county, and I know you're already advocating for this in a big way, and with the Scarborough subway announcement, we know that there are ways to get out there already. So we need to get in there with our projects and make the ask. And hopefully we will be successful. I really want to thank you for your work already on behalf of the city. I think one thing I will say, I think I would be remiss if I didn't mention that the county, the city, all 4, in fact, levels of government are going to have to work harder on affordable housing. And I put us in the same boat. I don't believe in passing the buck. That being said, I don't think there's enough bucks going around, and it's going to take all 4 levels of government actually to make an increased commitment, and that includes the one represented around this table. Later tonight, we're going to have the county's affordable housing strategy in front of us. And we know, because you've been such a tireless advocate for the city, that we can come to you and help try and make sure those projects are successful when they come forward from the city of Barrie. But I did want to say in closing that I feel that the working relationship between your office and the city has been extraordinarily good. I think we've accomplished a lot for the city, and I appreciate you coming and giving these updates and for your ongoing work for the city. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, I know we have a number of folks who have been waiting, and the next item on the agenda tonight is deputations on committee reports. We have 2 deputation requests this evening. The first deputation request is by Christina Bryant and Robin Brandon of the Bear Creek Eco Rangers concerning motion 13G 219 regarding an official plan and zoning bylaw amendment for 40 Ferndale Drive South to permit low and medium density residential on 2 separate sites adjacent to the Bear Creek wetland. Ms. Bryant, Ms. Brandon, the floor is yours. Welcome to Barrie City Council.
Thank you. My name is Robin Brandon, and the Bear Creek Eco Rangers would like to thank the NVCA, the City of Barrie, and Pratt Hanson Group for contributing to what we feel is a more environmentally responsible housing development. We also wish to thank Pratt Hanson Group and the City for their support in our efforts to educate residents in wetland stewardship. We look forward to future projects that we hope include informative signage that will encourage visitors and residents to respect the Eco Park. The efforts to make Manhattan a greener development should not end with the completion of construction, but should continue during the sales process and introduction of new residents. We, the Bear Creek Eco Rangers, are committed to educating new residents in the importance of becoming ambassadors for the Bear Creek wetlands. We hope to have the support of Council and Pratt Hanson Group in these efforts. A standard has been set here, and we feel that any future developments should be required to meet it. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. Christina Bryant, and I'm the lesser half of the Bear Creek Eco Rangers. We'd like to thank everyone for taking the time to hear our concerns tonight, but also throughout this whole process. Really, Robin and I would like to let you know how appreciative we've been for our members of council and the mayor's office and the team from Pratt. Exceedingly patient in addressing our concerns and generous as always with their time and letting us know and keeping us abreast of where this project is and what's going on. So thanks again. And our thanks to everyone involved. We understand this has been a really long road and everyone's worked really hard to make sure that the community's best interests are being considered. As a little background, 2/3 of Canada's wetland spaces have already been degraded or destroyed. These spaces serve vital functions, managing stormwater, filtering out contaminants from our water supply. They act as carbon sinks in our fight to manage greenhouse gases, and they're invaluable nesting, breeding, and habitat spaces for hundreds of species here in Canada. As seen as Barrie has a wetland space within our borders, it seems that it is our solemn duty to protect and preserve it. Now, Barrie has the reputation as being a green city, and the members of our little group would like to encourage a really strong commitment to maintaining that identity. We have an opportunity to serve as an example of how to grow as a city while still maintaining and respecting our green spaces. We recognize that a number of very positive changes have been made to the development, and they show a heightened sensitivity for the fragility of this invaluable ecosystem. We'd like to implore the city to use this process as an example for future projects. An important precedent has been set here, and we can work together to grow a community while still respecting the invaluable natural features of the city we all call home. And Robin and I, and on behalf of the wonderful group of kids whom we represent, who couldn't be here tonight, it's a school night, we look forward to continuing to work with everybody to make the Bear Creek Eco Park a better place for everybody to enjoy. So thank you very much, everyone.
Christina and Robin, thank you very much for your deputation and, of course, for the work that you continue to do with the kids and the Eco Rangers. It is a great program, great group. I know you've left the podium, but are there any questions from members of council for the deputants? Okay, not sure there would be. Thank you very much for your deputation. I will call on the second deputation request. This is from by representatives of the Friends of the Bear Creek Wetland Community Group concerning the same motion. Come on down to the podium, and the floor is yours. Welcome.
Your Worship, members of council, my name is Rich Olick, and I'm here on behalf of the Friends of the Bear Creek Wetland Community Group. I recognize